Maybe I'll
little
be there.
introduction here.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Should I start us
Hold
up,
on.
Bruce?
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Okay.
hold on 1 second until I get to audio setup. Share sound. So we should be good with sharing sound. Let me just do this from the beginning, and then Tom, we should be good.
Yeah, and if need be, once we get to number 3 there, we can skip if Alice hasn't joined us yet.
Yep, here she goes. So we're good to go.
Okay, very good. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to tonight's webinar. I'm Tom Robinson. I've been with Special Olympics for about a year. I'm the sport and UCS director in the Northeast region, and beginning just recently, I am SOPA's representative on the sport management team of powerlifting. On behalf of Special Olympics, I'd like to thank you not only for taking the time to be here tonight, but more importantly, for all you do throughout the year to bring the sport of powerlifting to our athletes. We'll be sharing the agenda here in just a moment, and we'll turn this program over to a few others along the way. But first of all, just a few things to go over. As you can see here, Bruce has started the recording. Tonight's meeting will be recorded, and the video will be made available for you to review if necessary in the future through our website. We ask everyone, if you haven't already done so, that you go ahead and mute your microphone throughout the bulk of the presentation. We also do encourage you to use the chat function that you can find on the menu along the bottom. As we go through, any questions come to mind, please feel free to put them in as they come to your mind. If those are not addressed throughout the course of the presentation, then we will answer all necessary questions at the end. And you can see there, Bruce has already shared the agenda. He'll be at the controls of our slide deck tonight. There will be a few things to show you and some videos and others along the way. And again, all of those you'll be able to access later through the links that will be on this document that will come to you after the meeting. We'll also cover all the, after the powerlifting specific items, we'll cover all the general issues out there that will help you prepare for everything between now and when we get to the Fall Festival that first weekend in November in Villanova. So now on to the powerlifting review. For this, I'll turn things over to our technical director, Ron Lobb. Go ahead, Ron.
Ron's still there. I can only see a certain number of people. Ron,
Yep,
you're on
I
mute.
see him.
Yeah,
Is your microphone?
I'm sorry. I was still muted. My grandson's here, so
Oh,
we
nice.
don't have too much going on in the background. So
Cool.
my name's Ron. Been with Special Olympics probably since 2010. I'm a coach for Bethlehem Special Olympics, and I help them do some other things. We run the Eastern Fall sectionals. I've been out to Central sectionals and also the Fall Western sectionals. So pretty much in all those years, I had a pretty good gamut of doing some different things. So I guess today we're going to go through some of the slides. I'll sort of read through them. And then if you guys have any questions, we'll address them at the end. Is that good?
Perfect.
Yep.
All right. So links to the sports pages are offered. I'm not sure what you want me to cover here. Is this the links that we're supposed to go to? It's hard for me to read.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I got some things covering the screen.
That's okay. It's my fault.
It's all good. So this is really just a link to the sports offered page. Oops, something just happened. This is a link to the sports offered page, just to give the coaches some resources. This would be your go-to for anything related to powerlifting would be that sport off, and for any of the sports for that matter. But as far as you go to our website, Special Olympic, the Special Olympic PA website, one of the drop-down menus will be a sports offered page. You click on sports offered, and then this will pop up on the right-hand side of your screen. Simply scroll to powerlifting. You'll see on the screen right now, it says 2023 Powerlifting Preseason Coaches Meetings. That will be replaced with a recording of this meeting. Then going down a little bit further, some coaching resources. You'll see the powerlifting resources that direct you to the SOI webpage that has the rules and some other things that I think one of us is going to cover, of some additional resources that SOI has to offer. I'm not sure what happened here. It looks like the screen got messed up a little bit here with the videos and the how-tos, but there's some of that also on this website that you can also view. Then I'll just push it over to the next slide here.
I can take it if you want me to.
You can take this one, right? This is an easy one.
This powerlifting sport. Yeah, this is in the powerlifting rules book. Everybody who took the rules.
Alice, Tom, is he frozen or am I?
Very good resource.
He is cutting in and out from what I can hear.
Yeah, Ron, it sounds like you're cutting in and out. Sorry about that.
Okay. I'm full audio, so I'm not sure if I'm having an internet problem or not. I mean, it's not raining here, but it's pretty windy.
Yeah, maybe it's kicking up for you.
Do you guys want to take it then? Do you want to take it over?
Yeah, I'll come back to you, Ron, as needed, and we'll see how your audio is at this point. Okay. But again, as you go through the resources on the website, you will be able to find a link to the rule book. And again, at this time, we're following, it will be the 2022 rules update.
And the 2024 should be out probably later this month, but we won't utilize the 2024, but new rules should be out, and because I think we're on a two-year rotation.
Okay, with that, you can see the weight classes listed. Most of this is self-explanatory. Give everybody a moment to review what you can see on the screen there. And we will be discussing the scoring later in this update. We'll get back to some information on the scoring.
Alice, do you want to cover that? How that affects? Whoop.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, go ahead, Alice.
Good. Big, gigantic lightning bolt hit very close to here just a minute ago. It knocked out all the internet, but the phone seems to be working. So there's only two changes this year that will affect ours. The first is they added a weight class. They added an extra weight class between the females, 63 and 84. But that really doesn't affect anything you do to train your athletes. Just so you're aware of that, when we get into the competition, they'll be divisioned appropriately for their wherever they belong. And then the other thing is this IPF formula. The Wilks formula is what's used when you have to combine people in different weight classes into the same division to try to get 3 or more people. And if you have different weight classes together, the Wilks formula gives you a factor that helps to equalize the fact that one person is heavier than the other. Presumably, people who have more weight can lift more weight. So the weight factor would reduce the lift for the heavier weight class, and it would promote it for the lighter person so that it's a much more equivalent lift. But there's some issues with it. So they did a lot of studies and they figured out a better factor to use. And that's what that IPF factor is. And because of that, Next Lifter doesn't have that incorporated there. So we're looking at another piece of software that will do that, which again, doesn't really affect how you coach or train your athletes. It's just that the scoring might look a little different. Want me to keep going?
Yeah, that'd be
if-
fantastic,
If you're
Alex.
doing great there, Alice, yeah,
Okay.
we can hear you well. Go ahead.
Okay, so the Sport Essentials page that's on the Special Olympics Inc. It's a specialolympics.org website, and the links on SOPA's website will take you to this page. And on these pages, they have some things other than just the rules changes. The list that's on the right is what's out there on the website. But I'd like to point out the coaching guides. They have two versions of the same guide. One is called online and one's called English. So the English one is 47 pages. But what those coaching guides do is they give you more specific information on how each lift is supposed to work, some ideas for training your athletes, how to set up your practices, a lot of very useful information for coaches. And it's a place that you can go back and refer to that information as you go along. You know, you don't want to necessarily print it because, like I said, it's 47 pages long. And the online one, all that is one that you can scroll through in a book format online. That's the only difference. And the next slide shows example of the things they have, some of the other things they have listed. In almost all the SOPA sports or Special Olympic sports now, they've added a warm-up guide and a cool-down guide that is a sport-specific one. So that's, as a coach, you know, you should have your athletes warm up before they start training and cool down at the end. And so these guides will provide that information for you on ideas that you can use specifically for powerlifting. You can go to the next one unless people have questions. And then, oh, I was going to say, wait a minute. Some training reminders. The minimum age to compete is 14. You may train athletes ages 8 to 13, but really you should not be training them to compete because obviously they're not quite ready for competition. However, if you work on teaching the proper form and then later after that work on developing their strength after they've figured out the proper form. And in fact, I know Ron told me that he had a young person come at his practices and he used a broomstick instead of using a bar and had them learn some of the proper forms with a broomstick. So they got used to it. And one example of that is what are the proper commands for your athletes? And this is not just for the young ones, but for all of them. So making sure that in your training, you're telling your athletes the proper cues for what they need to do when they make a lift in competition, and that way they're prepared for it in the right way. And Ron, if I'm saying something different, you can try and see if your internet's better. There's thunderstorms in Pennsylvania and there's thunderstorms where I am, and I'm 1,000 miles away. So
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
I can see everything. Just my audio is broken up, I guess. I can hear you guys.
Yeah, now you sounded a lot better on that one. Okay, you can go ahead to the next slide if you want. I think there's one in here. Okay, there's 3 different lifting events that we offer: the squat, the bench press, and the deadlift. That's the same as it's always been. And then there's 2 combination events. The 2 lift combo is the bench press and the deadlift, and the 3 lift combo is the squat, bench press, and deadlift. So people doing 2 lifts will compete against other athletes doing 2 lifts, and those doing 3 lifts will compete against other athletes doing 3 lifts. You don't have to make a special sign up for the combo events because we take them based on what your athletes are registered for. So you only, as a coach, would have to register them for the events they're doing. And by the way, they can do just one. We have some athletes that do only the bench press, and we actually have a few athletes that do only the deadlift. And in those cases, the 1 lift athletes would compete against others that are doing 1 lift. So it's fairly straightforward there. Okay, so we know now that we've converted our lifting to be in kilogram weights, and we will offer. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's on the resources page. There is a conversion table for, and you go to the competition in kilograms. It's really how you measure the weight. It's not that the weights have to change all that much, although they have to be a weight in kgs that you can actually put on the bar. So it's not just a mathematical formula, but that conversion chart will tell you what's the closest kg weight for pounds if you're used to training in pounds. Just a reminder that your weights have to increase between the lifts that you take, or if the lift was unsuccessful, then you may stay at the same amount, but you can't go to a lower amount. So when you think about your first lift, you want to make sure that it's a lift that's achievable. If it's too high for your athletes, then they may never get past that level. The minimum weight on the bar with no collars is 20 kilograms. For the deadlift, it's 25 kgs. And athletes have 1 minute after the bar's loaded to start their lift. Also, coaches have 1 minute to submit the next lift weight after the athlete completes their first and second lift. So, I sit at the scoring table and the students help out there. And sometimes the coaches have multiple athletes in a row. And we try to, take that into consideration if you can't get your weight back in the minute. But the sooner you can get it there, the better. And the same thing for the athletes that have 1 minute. If you have an athlete that needs extra time because of physical limitations, then you speak to the judges ahead of time so they're aware of it, and to be fair to those. Okay, go ahead into the next one. This is information on the proper attire, and this information comes, actually, I think this is exactly the same as what's in the IPF rule book. If Special Olympics rules are always adjustments to their national governing body, which happens to be IPF. And if you go back and open up that rule book, there's a link to, your picture's disappeared, but I think that's okay. There's a link to the IPF rules that you can see, and there's a link to the
I think Alice is fading out too, huh?
IPF page from there. Oh, I think I can. Sleep mode. So anyway, this is the important part of the attire. And honestly, I don't know that I need to read all of this because you can see it in there, and also it's in the rule book. But the important thing is, this is again I don't know whether you heard me while my phone was goofed up, but in the Special Olympics rule book that we showed you earlier, at the very top, the very first paragraph of it has a link to the IPF website, and you can select technical rules and see what the technical rules are. And this page looks a lot like the page that's in there. So I'll just say that. I don't know, Ron, do you want to add anything else to this one? Because there's another attire page if you go to the next page.
Yeah, I think you did pretty good.
Okay, so the t-shirts is important, also, that they could be lifting. I mean, the most important thing about the uniform is that it's not a specially made one that offers extra benefits to lifting that can make it unfair, give somebody an unfair advantage. So this tells about the t-shirts and how they have to be constructed, and what the sleeves are. And again, you guys can read this in the rules. So I don't know that I really need to read it to you at this point. So let's move on to the next one, unless somebody has a specific question about it. These are all the other items that go with being a lifter. So what's required for the socks? Most of these are written this way for both safety reasons and for making sure that they are the right, they aren't giving extra support unfairly to one athlete versus another. So it's interesting, on the briefs, I was looking through the IPF rule book today, and they actually have pictures of underwear in there, and they say this one's okay, this one's okay, this one's okay, and this one's not okay. at any rate, what you really don't want is you don't want any clothing that gives extra support above what would normally be used for powerlifting. One of the important things too is the wrist wraps. They have very specific information on these, so make sure that when you go out and get this equipment that you're aware of the attire, the rules on the attire, so that you don't get something that's not proper. I may have actually misspoke on the singlets, because I think Bruce, you said they were also on SOPA's branding guidelines. Is that right? This part? I know the labeling is on the branding guidelines, but I didn't know whether the rest of the attire was. The branding guidelines, SOPA's branding guidelines, which are also linked on SOPA's website, will tell you for each sport what your uniform should look like.
Yeah, that's
so
directly where this came. This directly came from the branding guidelines.
I read too many documents in the past 24 hours. Sorry about that. And I remember you said that yesterday. So, okay. So anyway, it's out there, and that should be in the sports offered section too. Okay, go ahead. Move forward a couple extra ones. Sorry. Oh, good. We got to my page, my one page I was going to talk about. So I know a lot of people often ask me about divisioning and how that works. And I thought, now these, I actually copied these mostly from the rule book, but what I wanted to say is there is a process that is, some of the things are exactly the same as every other sport, and some things are different. So athletes are placed in divisions by gender, weight class, age, and ability. In powerlifting, it's, I think, the only Special Olympics sport where you never combine athletes by gender, because their weight class charts are not equivalent. And so we won't ever have women competing against men in the same division. And by the way, a division is how the athletes are grouped to be awarded. So if when you get gold, silver, and bronze, and you see those athletes standing up there together, that's what a division is. It's also sometimes called a heat, but in powerlifting, mostly it's called a division. So the first thing that I do when I work on this is, you line them all up and you sort them by gender, then by weight class, then by age, and then by ability, and then you divide them up. But what happens is, depending on the size of the competition, there may be a whole lot of 1-person and 2-person heats. So there's also a Special Olympics rule that says your division should be between 3 and 8 participants. Well, what happens when you have 1 and 2s? You go back to that list and you say, okay, how can I combine people together to make 3 that are competing, that are still, you try to keep them as close as possible. You go back and say, can I combine age groups? And then can I combine weight classes? And that's where the IPF factor comes in, that if you do combine weight classes, it gives an advantage to the lighter person in the competition, so that it makes it a fair competition to award people in different weight classes together. I hope that makes sense. And also, if you really have a issue with divisioning when you're in a competition, come and ask at the score table, especially if I'm there, and I can show you what it is and what we do. So go ahead. You can move to the next one. Safety spotters. This is something that's really important because it needs to be done in your training practices as well as in competition. But 3 spotters are required for lifts. 1 should be in the back. Every single lift needs a squatter in the back, and 2 need to be on either side that are responsible only for the weights. The one in back is responsible for the lifter and making sure that lifter is safe. So here's an example where you have the spotters on either side holding their hands where they can grab that bar if the athlete starts to stumble, and the one behind ready to support the athlete in case there's something that goes wrong. Atlantoaxial instability for athletes with Down syndrome. About approximately 10% of athletes with Down syndrome will have a weakness in their neck vertebrae that could cause spinal cord damage if they put a strain on it in the wrong way. So in many Special Olympic sports that might involve strain on your neck muscles, swimming, the butterfly stroke is one. I'm a swim coach too, and I think hitting the soccer ball with your head, and gymnastics. Some of the gymnastics events are excluded for athletes that have tested positive. The way that they check for this is with an X-ray. So on our new medicals or our old medicals used to have a question: if the person has Down syndrome, then it's marked either yes, they have this atlantoaxial instability, or no, they don't. If they or they've never had an X-ray, which means you treat them as positive, and those people cannot do a squat. And then the new medical form has a section in the middle of the page that the doctor signs that says either the person's been cleared for this and they don't have it, or there's a separate page that says yes, it's positive or negative, and how you deal with it. So just be aware that on your medical forms, you need to look for that. Now what? I think I lost you guys again. Okay. All right. Go ahead for the next one. Okay. Squat assessments. Again, these are very specific steps of how a proper squat lift is done. And squat is I would guess it's the most dangerous of the three lifts: equipment and the support on what that athlete is holding and how they're holding it. So if something starts to go wrong, if the athlete's off balance, there's the potential for a lot of injury that can happen. So before you train athletes in the squat lift, you need to follow these steps that are on the assessment form and make sure that you're doing every one of those steps. When you take, and if you have questions, by the way, call Ron's information. We didn't put his phone number on there, but we'll get the email out, and Bruce, I probably asked Ron will add his email to that original list where he was listed there. So you can send him a note and say, hey, I have a question.
You put my phone number on there too.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Ron.
We'll add it.
We'll add that on there. So if you need to contact him, don't contact me because I'm not a power lifter. Contact Ron, and he'll help you get started and make sure that you understand what these steps are. But when you come to competition, your squat lifters will also be assessed if they have never done a squat in a sectional or a state event before. And this particular document is part of what's on the sports offered page from the Special Olympics, from the SOPA website. SOPA, and I don't know whether you said it earlier, but the way you get to the sports offered page is on that little red bar that's at the top of your the main page, and one of them's labeled sports. When you hit sports, it drops down. Sports offered is one of the choices. If you're on a phone, I think you get 3 lines. And then you can hit those 3 or 4 lines in the corner, and it gives you the same drop down to get to sports. When you get to sports, sports offered is underneath that. And you can see all the SOPA sports and the information about each one. Okay, I think that's it for powerlifting specific. I don't know if there are any questions. While Ron's on, you probably ought to ask your questions if you have any about the sports specific information.
All right, we can open up the questions. Any coaches, do you have any questions specifically related to powerlifting?
And if you do, feel free to unmute yourself, or if anybody wants to pass along a question by chat, could do that way as well.
Ron, Alice, sounds good. Sounds like you did a good job.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Alice.
Thank you, Alice.
Yeah, now your sound sounds like it's working perfectly, but it was really broken up.
Yeah, it was just for that second there. He planned it.
Yeah, I was hitting the button.
All right, Tom, you're up, buddy.
All right, very good. Thank you again to Alice for the help there, and Ron for the background information that all of you can turn to if you need it. At this point, I'd like to review the information we think you will need from SOPA to help you get through the season. The first item that you see here is a breakdown of our schedule. Sign-ups should, for the most part, be completed as of today. There is still room for athletes to request to join up until that eligibility deadline that you see there on August 23rd. But for planning purposes, those requests at this point will need to start going on a case-by-case basis through your regional sports director and regional administrative manager. So you can, if you get any new athletes or are interested in letting you know that, or if you see on your rosters athletes that you think are missing and there's any need to add anyone to the roster, just make sure that you're calling that to the attention of your contacts within your region. You can begin practice as early as August 9th, which is the reason we try to have rosters set at this point and like to have the registration by mid-July. But as we potentially accommodate whatever late requests come in, we will be reminding, and we would encourage you to remind as well, some of your longtime year-to-year athletes. The reason for that early sign up is to make sure we're in the best position possible, all of us, to accommodate everyone who wants to sign up for the roster. As you know, we have to make sure we have enough coaches available, sites available, et cetera. So it's always helpful if we can get people to meet those registration deadlines. I think we can move along to the next one, Bruce. There are other dates that will apply beyond those that you just saw there, and partly because your sectionals each have different dates, so therefore some of the other key dates during the season will differ at times. Again, through our website, you can locate the important fall calendar dates, and again, when this document is shared, the links are right on there. You'll be able to find anything you need to know there that is particular to your section, so that you can follow the key dates there. And we'll go to the next one. The next slide addresses air quality. Now, understanding or assuming that most of your work will be done inside, this may not apply too often, but for any of you who do have any outdoor activities as part of your programs, we want to make sure you're aware of this resource that we are using. We should not have any outdoor activities in the case of an unhealthy zone where an air quality reading is 151 or higher. The link right there is provided, something to be aware of if you are doing any outdoor activities. And you can see that link right there. And it's a pretty simple one to follow. You click on it and enter your zip code or your area, and you will get a number right there to use that will tell you, which obviously in almost all cases will be well below that 151, but the 151 is the number to be aware of. And that would be a mandatory. If you ever see a number that high, you shouldn't be conducting outdoor activities. And we'll go to the next one. All right. And again, just reminders about the various eligibility requirements. One of the other reasons that we would have collected the roster information early is our staff, primarily the regional administrative managers, are reviewing all of the medicals on file. Everybody needs to have had a medical with a form filled out within the last 3 years. And on the rosters, if they have not already, those RAMs at each region will be filling in a column that will indicate to you whether somebody is fully cleared. And if you see the green that they are eligible, that means the athlete is eligible all the way through those dates for the fall festival. So you know they're good for the season. You may see a yellow indication that somebody is okay at the moment, but has an expiration coming up. And you would certainly, we would request that you assist us in providing reminders to those athletes to encourage them to get the paperwork in order so that they don't have a lapse there. You should understand that any athlete who does not yet have the medical form on file or current should not be practicing. It's not just to have them ready for competitions later. They should not be practicing without the current medical forms. So as you see anybody who has anything missing, and the same would apply if you have coaches who you see that one of the requirements is either expired or going to expire during the season. Obviously, we want to address those as early as possible to keep everybody available and eligible to be part of all the programs. And go ahead, Bruce. Okay, and again, this one pretty self-explanatory. People wanting to be eligible for the Fall Fest will need to be at their sectional event and need to be registered for that. There will be more information coming out about the exact percentages that will be used to base how many spots are able to advance. We'll have more of that information coming up for you in the future. And go ahead. Yeah, and as that is what I was referring to, the fall allocation numbers will be coming up, and you'll have the link there that will be shared to you in multiple ways. It's helpful for future work on that to make sure within your rosters that you're gathering the information so that that LOI information is being filled in on the tracker, so we know which athletes are interested in advancing forward in competition. All right, and we've addressed some of this in preparing for the season. Again, making sure your athletes and your other volunteers are eligible. Be aware of the air quality. Bruce, feel free to add if necessary. I believe we will have more specific information coming out on heat risk criteria. Is that correct? Not sure if you might be muted.
Yeah, we're starting to put some guidance together for the heat as well. Similar
Yeah,
to like the air index, there'll be a heat index as well, considering what we're going through right now.
Right. So there will be more information to come on that, and we'll share any guidelines that you need to be aware of on that. I think we need to be one slide further. Yeah, and other just general things to be aware of in preparation for the season. Yeah, thank you on that. Is remind athletes you do not want somebody there training who was ill. Be aware as things we've been through in recent years. Be aware if there are any community outbreaks, any health issues like that. And again, encourage your athletes, if they are sick, they need to stay home and not be part of that training and expose other people for during that time that they are under the weather. Always a good idea wherever your facility is to just review things like evacuation routes and plans, and know how you would get out of your facility if any emergency should take place. And again, we sharing much of the information now, and review as much as you can the rules, and just have yourself ready to go when you start those practices and when you head to competition. And we're all here to support. If you have any specific questions that come up as you go, please share them with Ron, with Alice, with myself, if necessary. I may not always have the specific answer if it's powerlifting specific, but we'll get that information for you if we don't personally have it. We have other programs available. One of them is an athlete as coach. If you were to identify an athlete that wants to also be involved in coaching, you would be able to help us in that process. We would be looking for your input on whether you think that athlete is qualified to begin the process. We have a webinar for that. We have other information and training information. Jordan Schubert handles that program for us. But again, if you had any initial questions, your regional sports director would be part of that review as well, and trying to determine if you had an athlete ready to be a part of that program, which we certainly want to encourage where appropriate. Again, feel free to ask your regional sports director or Jordan if you have any questions on somebody you think might be a fit for that. All right, and this is the basic guideline here, the reminder that for each of your teams, there must be one certified coach. And if any of you are fortunate enough to have a roster that would include more than 25 athletes, there must be at least 2 certified coaches in that case. And at this point, I believe, Bruce, you have some video along with this,
Yep.
explaining our new tracker and slightly different looking roster documents that you'll be dealing with this year. So I'm going to let Bruce take it from here for a little while.
All right, thanks, Tom. Michelle Boone put together a video on the tracker, so she gives a pretty much detail about each of the tracker forms and each of the tabs that are on there. So I think she does a very good job here. So I'm going to play the video. Tom, if you can nod, make sure that we have sound. I know I clicked sound, but
I would say I will nod if that's the case, but your volume could also be slightly louder. I'm not sure. I checked to see if it was on my end. You're pretty good, but just a little louder from you, and I'll let you know how the video is in a moment.
All right, perfect.
To Fall Fest. Also, just really important that we
It's so slow.
Hey everyone, my name is Michelle. I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about our trackers. So we've made a lot of changes based on your feedback over the last year to hopefully make this whole process a little bit easier for each of our coaches. I'm going to go ahead and just share screen here. All right, so here you're looking at, this is a team tracker, but I think just to walk you through kind of what is included in here. So the first tab is the instruction tab. The second tab we have is kind of what we'll call kind of the tracker, and then LOI. That's where you'll really manage eligibility and the LOI data, as well as attendance. The sport-specific roster is where you'll manage really everything that has to do with event registration. And then each of the team sports also has a team ratings form tab. There's an additional one in here. It's just a volunteer position requirements. And this is just a snapshot of some of those different ways an individual can volunteer and then what the clearances are. So just move this in here as kind of an easy access for coaches who may have some questions about that. So we'll dive into each of those tabs a little bit. And I'm really going to focus today on what's important for our coaches, right? What are we expecting? How are we expecting you to kind of work within these and manage? And then kind of what do we need you to be doing in them when it comes to event registration or LOIs? So on the instruction tab here, so we have just moved over this top bit was historically on the volunteer tracking tab, but this is just really data for that training site. So if we could ask each of our training site leads, whoever's receiving this tracker, to go ahead and fill out the green boxes here, just allows us, you know, anyone kind of coming in here knows who the go-to person to contact for that training site is, may there be any questions. And then these gray here will automatically populate the numbers once you have some information listed on that athlete and volunteer tab. It'll also tell you here if you're meeting the 4-to-1 ratio for 4 Class A volunteers or 1 Class A volunteer for every 4 athletes at the training site. So again, that'll just give you some statistics. The rest of this here just walks you through a little bit. We'll talk through today, but walks you through a little bit as to what you can expect, what kind of each tab contains and what you can expect on each of the tabs. So we'll start here with the volunteer and athlete tab. So the These first columns here, so A through H, all that data will be populated off of the sign-up forms. So if you have athlete or volunteers that are regular participants at your training site, they should need to be completing the sign-up form. That deadline has passed, so the deadline to complete the fall sign-up forms was July 15th. So if you have any individuals at this point in time that need to get put onto this sheet, they will need to contact your regional sport director directly. So you can just provide them with that information and they can get a hold of them. The regional sport director will work with those individuals to complete the sign-up form if there is still room and space at your training site to take more athletes. And then once they complete that sign-up form, they will get populated on your tracker tab here. All this information is locked. So the information in A through H is all locked information. You are not able to make any changes or edits to that. If there are edits that need to be made, again, you should just contact your regional sport director and they can help to do that for you. The other thing that the regional sport directors will do is sort this for you. So they will sort it by participant type and then alphabetically by name. If there's a different way that you would like it sorted, if you would just like to see something very specific, again, you can reach out to them and they'll make those updates for you. As we scroll across here, we have frozen columns A through C so that as you scroll across, the names and participant types will stay on your screen. So the next really important columns are the eligibility. So I and J are also locked cells. This information will automatically be populated. Our regional administrative managers, or our RAMs, are the ones who are managing that on the back end. And again, based on an individual's eligibility status, these things will populate here. We have color-coded these for you to, again, hope to make it easier for you to be able to navigate through there. So anyone that's green, that pops up green is eligible. They're good to be at your training site. Anyone that pops up red is missing something. So if it's a volunteer, they may be missing clearances or some of the certifications, general orientation, protective behaviors, concussion training that is needed to be a Class A volunteer at a training site. Whatever they're missing will be listed in column J. So in this example, they're not eligible, they're missing protective behaviors. This would be an athlete not eligible, they're missing a medical. The RAMs are working with those individuals. They're in communication with them to try to get those things updated. As a reminder, the deadline for that is August 23rd is the seasonal eligibility deadline. So anyone that is showing up red needs to be updated by that point in time in order to stay on your roster and to be eligible for participation in either sectional events or state level events. Anyone on here in yellow is expiring. So they have something that is expiring in the middle of the season. So prior to Fall Fest this year. It'll list what the item is that it's expiring and the date that it's expiring on. Again, our RAMs will be working with those individuals to get those things updated. But you see these people more often, right? They're regularly at your training site. So I think a friendly reminder that that is expiring and it's something that they'll need to go in and do is super helpful. The other category, a newer one that we've added here, is the orange. So these are essentially Class B volunteers at your training site. Again, we've tried to capture different than in years past, everyone who is a regular attendee at your training site. So we encourage this, right? Like we know we want you to have help and these people are great additions. It's just important that you know and understand that they cannot directly supervise athletes. So they cannot be one-on-one with an athlete ever. They should never be asked to take an athlete to a bathroom or they just need to always have supervision when they are directly working with athletes. So great resources, again, to help you run skills and drills or to help specific athletes, with specific skills. I mean, they can work one-on-one with an athlete. It just needs to be in your purview, right? So it needs to be happening kind of within the venue where you're there kind of overseeing and supervising. But those are just Class B individuals. So they do not have Class A clearances, which is what makes them orange. If you have some people that play this role, but they have all of their Class A clearances, you can work with your regional sport director to change that person to a green on here. Change them from a general volunteer, to a chaperone or an assistant coach, just so you know that that individual can serve a role within that 1-to-4 ratio at your training site. If maybe you have a coach that is not able to attend a practice one day or something like that. So again, if you've got some of those people that are currently in orange but have all of their Class A clearances, I would suggest you move them over and we make them a green. The next thing on this sheet is your LOI. So we will no longer be sending out an additional kind of LOI form or LOI survey to collect that data. We will now be doing that right here on the tracker. So you will just indicate that on here by telling us. You'll just kind of X people off. So you'll put within each of these cells, if these are the people that want to attend sectional competition, you'll just put an X in there marking that. So as you know, we put out initial allocations. So, we can just use the sport of like bocce for an example. If you've got 10 bocce initial allocations, but you want to bring 20 bocce athletes, on here, you would mark 20 bocce athletes. So you would just mark off, these are the 20 people that I want to bring. That is essentially telling us that I accept my 10, but I also want an additional 10, which is the information that you would have historically given us on the form that we've sent. And now if you don't want that 10, you just select 6, right? And so again, that's telling us, okay, I'm going to take 6 and I'm giving you back 4. So here you should just be marking the athletes that are wanting to attend sectional competitions. Also ask that in column M here, you're using this to indicate which of those athletes also are interested in attending Fall Fest, right? So not always the case that everyone going to a sectional event wants to attend Fall Fest as well. So if there, are people that want to attend, you'll just X them off. And then maybe you have 1 or 2 people that don't want to attend, you would just leave those blank. So I think that's pretty straightforward for kind of how we'll manage LOIs. Just real quick, as far as USA Games go, this is a qualifying year for USA Games 2026. So if you have athletes or coaches that are interested in advancing and being part of the Team PA for 2026, just asking that you note that with a simple yes. You can sit down and have this conversation at a practice, maybe pull the parents, guardians in, just make sure that those individuals that you feel like those individuals that you're marking off here are appropriate for an event like that. That'll cue us to put them just into the drawing if their sport is selected for participation in USA Games. Also for the coaches, we will open up coach applications September 1st. They'll run through October 1st. So this will be helpful in giving us some information to know if there are some coaches at your training site that are interested, so we can make sure that we specifically get them the information. The other piece of this is the attendance tracker itself. So as we've done in the past year, you have the ability to keep attendance on here. You can just update the date for whenever your practice may be, and then you can go down your list and say, yep, these are the people that are here, those people were not here that day, and so on, right? So you're welcome to kind of utilize this as a way to keep attendance. You don't have to. It is required that you keep attendance, but you don't have to use this tool to do it. So if you find it easier to just maybe print something out and manually go in each week and check people off, you could print this sheet and just manually go in and do that. What's very important is we need you at the end of the season being able to come back in here and populate column O here. So what this says is that you're going to indicate here, did a specific athlete train for 8 weeks? And the answer is just yes or no. So yes, they attended 8 weeks of practice, or no, they did not attend 8 weeks of practice. This is really important data that we need to provide to SOI for the census and for our accreditation on a yearly basis. So again, this is kind of how we pull our athlete numbers. Really important that this gets completed at the end of the season and that it's correct. I failed to note in the instruction tab, but at the end of the season, once you go through and finish that, and you'll receive emails from your regional sport directors asking you to go into and do that after Fall Fest happens. Once you finish just marking off all your yes or no's, you'll come back over to this instruction tab and just change your roster status from active to final. That lets the RSD know that, yep, you've gone and you've checked all those people and all that information looks correct. The next tab is our roster tab. So this is kind of the sport-specific rosters. Similarly to the one before, all the information in A through F will be automatically populated into here based off the sign-up form. It will be sorted by your regional sport directors. So all of that stays the same. In this kind of G, H, and I is the event details. So for local events, your regional sport directors may choose to use this or not. For our sectional events and Fall Fest, you 100%, this is how you'll indicate kind of who's coming to each of those events. So on the previous page, we did the LOI, which is the letter of intent, right? So off of that, you will receive final allocations. So your regional sport director will share with you, okay, you wanted 20 bocce athletes. We actually are able to give you 16. So this is where you come into here now and you indicate, okay, these are the 16 athletes that I'm going to take to Fall Fest. So you'll just need to go in and you mark everyone's specific role in here. So you see some athletes there. If you've got some coaches that are down here, maybe you've got a head coach and maybe a few assistant coaches. So for every individual, right, every row, you would just mark the role that they're going to play at that event. There is a little kind of trick here. Once you indicate one of these athletes, you'll see the cell kind of gets highlighted blue. There's a little blue circle there. So if you just highlight with your mouse over that blue circle and you right click, you can pull down and it'll populate that same thing in all of the cells. So just a little tip that maybe saves you a little bit of time, especially for some of our larger delegations, in going down and being able to highlight a whole selection of athletes. And then maybe you've got, maybe there's 1 or 2 athletes in here that are not attending Fall Fest. You can just go back into those cells and, you can go highlight back over those cells and then just delete. So again, for some of our larger delegations, that may be an easier way to do it. So you will just need to do that for each of the events, right? So you'll need to go in and do that for sectionals after you get your final allocations. You need to put every athlete and every volunteer from your training site that is attending that event on here. And then the same for Fall Fest. So this is probably more important for volunteers. We will automatically advance the individuals that qualify for Fall Fest over. Volunteers, you will definitely need to go in and mark and tell us who is coming from a volunteer basis to Fall Fest. Also, just really important that we are abiding to the dates and deadlines that are in here, both from an LOI perspective, an event roster perspective, and an event registration perspective. Our team, kind of our SOPA headquarters sports team, will come in after those deadlines and pull all this information out. Once we pull it out, you don't have the ability to change it anymore. That is what has been submitted. We need to do a better job at sticking to these deadlines and kind of abiding to these deadlines. We had, I think, several issues over the course of the past year where it just made things really difficult if information continued to change on our end, on the committee's end. So just really asking that you're abiding to those deadlines. If there is kind of extenuating circumstances, just make sure that you're working with your regional sport director on them. They'll communicate with, whoever the event lead from a headquarters perspective is. But again, these should be few and far between. And then from an event registration standpoint, so we will also conduct or pull event registration from these forms. We'll get into that kind of sport specifically, what that looks like on each of our coach preseason calls. So we'll dive into, just each sport individually. But again, just really important to know there'll be no more Google registration. This is how we're pulling all of the information for events. Again, just trying to make it a little bit easier for our coaches, giving you one place where you need to get in there and populate everything. Hopefully it simplifies the process for you a little bit. I would suggest for our coaches that you're keeping this stuff updated throughout the season. For a team sport, I think once you identify who is on each of your team specific rosters, you're coming in and just assigning, that individual to a specific team, putting a team name in here. If for whatever reason that changes, an athlete's not going to an event, you just won't mark them off as attending that event, right? You'll just leave that blank. But you can kind of list out your full rosters and then just let us know who is actually coming to each event. Same thing for skills, as you're identifying who your skill athletes are, you're doing some assessments throughout the season, just go ahead in here and drop in their skill score. So then once we get to an event registration deadline, all that information is already populated in here. So again, hoping that makes it a little bit easier for you. We'll talk about it more sport specifically. Similar to the team rating form. So again, I had said that that's one of the tabs here for all of our team sports. We'll dive into that a little bit deeper on each of those individual calls. So hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your regional sport director. Thanks.
All right. Let me see if I get back.
Bruce, I have a question.
Sure.
If they want on the tabs for local sectionals and Villanova, and they
Yep.
said the deadline is September 30th, but our qualifying event is until the beginning of October. So how can that column be filled out by September 30th?
Let me see what column here, because I have all the duplicates right here.
No,
Is it
next
this
one
one?
over. No, next one over.
Bruce, I'll try to address that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong as you're going to that.
Yeah, sure. I'm just trying to find out.
I
which
believe
slide
that's
it's on.
the
That
interest.
one.
Yeah.
No, it's not that one. It's the next one. Keep going.
No, it
It's
wasn't that. Go back.
right here. It's that one. It says deadline September 30th, attending Fall Fest. But if powerlifting's a qualifier, we won't know that until after September 30th.
So after EFS.
But that would be indicating the interest in going to Fall Fest.
That's the page before, though. This is the one that says attending Fall Fest.
Yeah, here's the interest.
This is the one, the interest.
Okay, I
Yeah.
got you. Yep, you're
Okay.
correct. Okay.
And then on the 26th is that M column. And then now this is the column where the deadline is September 30th, attending Fall Fest, Mark Roll.
But we don't have our section
won't-
still
So
October
September 9th. Yep. Wait. Yeah, till October 7th, October 6th or 7th.
7th. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting. Let me run that by Michelle and see what that's about.
Because that's going to
right.
affect everybody in Eastern,
Yep.
all sectional.
Yep, you're right. All right, thank you. Just as an FYI, I did put all the slides in here. If you wanted to listen to the video again, you certainly can, but I copied all the slides over into the PDF, so you can simply click through them as well, so you don't have to listen to it again. Certainly more than welcome to, and more than welcome to share with individuals as well. All right, so I'm not going to go through each of these. What I will go through is we should have a powerlifting tab. This is what the specific powerlifting tab looks like. On here, the coaches can track the list all season long to track the current and personal best. You can see that we request their weights in kilograms. So it looks like Michelle, it looks like they put in here weight in pounds, and then they have a conversion here, which is convenient. And then you have the spots here for your deadlift, the starting weight, deadlift for the personal best, bench, bench, personal best, squat, you put all the information in there, and that's what we'll pick up and use that for our registration. You must be sure the information is updated by the event deadlines. Enter lifted weight in kilograms, so that would be in these individual spots for each of the lifts in columns L through Q. If you put them in kilograms, you still have the opportunity to change your lifts after the date. When the score update form that'll accompany event information, or the it'll accompany the final allocations.
Bruce, if you notice, keep that slide for one moment, go back
Sure.
to it for one moment.
Yep.
It has the Fall Fest deadline there is October 10th. The
Okay,
registration.
so maybe that's what that
deadline.
other date would be then. So I'll check
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
All right, good point. All right, any questions on the tracker?
Bruce,
All
can
right.
I make just a quick comment on that?
Yeah, please.
You know, as many of you know, when you look at that divisioning chart where it says that you division by weight group, age, and gender and ability, that the weight class is one of the key elements of divisioning. So technically, we can't division until we have weigh-ins at the event. And on top of that, you can't put the flights together until you know what the divisions are, because you want to keep divisions of people who are competing with each other in the same flight. So if it's possible for us to get accurate as possible athlete body weights before our competitions, particularly for the competitions where there are a lot of people, we can do a little pre-divisioning on the side. And then when they weigh in, there's a flag that I have that uses it to say this person has changed their weight class from what their body weight coming on the entry level information shows. And then your divisioning can be done a lot faster, and the events can start a lot faster. So it's really, really helpful to us at the score table if those athlete weights are as accurate as possible before the competition. And the other thing, I'm not sure whether this was said or not, I apologize, but the lift weights that are there are your first lift, your initial lift, and you are allowed to change them at the time of weigh-ins. But it's nice, again, the same reason, it's nice to have them ahead of time, because then when the charts are put together to have people lift in order, all of that's already in there, and you're not trying to type that all in the morning at the beginning of powerlifting competition.
Thanks.
A commercial message from the scoring table.
All right,
Very
we'll
good.
have another commercial break here for athlete performance training. So a little message from Charlotte Stein and athlete performance training. We're almost finished, folks. Thank you for sticking around.
Programs. You'll then scroll down and you can see all of our fitness programs that we offer here at SOPA. Under Athlete Performance Training, you will scroll down and click Learn More. For those who are familiar with athlete performance training and have provided it to your athletes in the past, we thank you for your participation, and we hope you participate again this coming season. For those who are new to SOPA or not familiar with athlete performance training, or APT as it is called, here's a brief information on how it works. Athlete performance training, as mentioned, is our in-season fitness program. It includes health education, as well as a fitness evaluation for athletes at the start and end of the season. It is a minimum of 8 weeks to participate in APT, but that is similar to how training sites are required as well, so it fits right in. Athlete performance training happens at the field of play. So it can happen on any sport. It can happen on the soccer field. It can happen on the track. It can happen on the bocce court. It can happen anywhere that you are training. And we provide every team, a coach will get their own coach's guide, and athletes will get an athlete guidebook. In the coach's guidebook, you will be able to read scripts to provide health education lessons each week. We recommend you provide those during the warm-ups or the cool downs. And then athletes will be provided in their guidebooks fitness education and fitness and exercise programming that they can do at home. And you will encourage your athletes to do that at home when they're training during the season. The goal is for athletes to exercise 5 days a week, as well as eat healthier with more fruits and vegetables and drink water. Athletes are also provided a tracker so they can track these goals, and you can discuss those trackers with them each week at trainings to encourage them to keep going and provide them with feedback and support. So we've seen some really great results from athlete performance training, and we want to share with you now where we are with that data that we've collected so far.
APT has served over 400 athletes of all ages across 14 sports, and we've seen some amazing results so far. A majority of these athletes improved or maintained their health status, with over 90% of them improving or maintaining their blood pressure and body mass index. For athletes who started with health measures that we consider high risk, we saw across the board benefits to their health, as you can see here. 91 of those athletes improved or maintained their BMI, 92% improved or maintained their blood pressure, and 95% improved or maintained their 6-minute test time, a measure of cardio fitness. Our early returns suggest that participating in APT can contribute to athletes getting healthier and staying healthier.
So we're really hoping to continue to see these results come in. We know that we have a lot of work to do, and many of our athletes are excited to participate in athlete performance training this coming season. We hope you consider offering it at your training sites as well. And if you're interested in participating, we have updated the registration process. It is right there on the website. You will scroll down to where you see here if you're a coach, and the steps are written out for you. The first step will be to click on this link to watch the training video. The training video is about 30 minutes long and provides further details on the program, how you run the fitness test, and how you record the data. Then you will register formally here by clicking the link, and you will get a registration form that's easy to fill out. Once the registration form is completed, Special Olympics Pennsylvania will reach back out to you to confirm your participation. We will then mail you guidebooks to your home where you'll be able to utilize them through the season with your athletes. If you have any questions during the season, we're here to support you. You can obviously reach out to myself, Charla Stein, and my email address is linked here, or you can call me directly, and I'm happy to support you during the season, or if you have any questions prior to participation. All coaches who participate in athlete performance training will also be eligible for the bronze level in the coaches training and progression plan. Again, we greatly appreciate your consideration in participating in athlete performance training, and we look forward to working with you more during this season and beyond.
All right, let's get back. All right, so that was athlete performance training. I think there's one last topic that we want to cover before we move. You know what? I'm going to talk about fall season competitions, and then we'll talk about the. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the new portal. So fall season competitions coming up. If you are having a local competition, we would like to know about it. Did put together you can see the SOPA competition calendar submission form. If your local program is having a local or an invitational event, if you could please let us know. We want to capture, all the work that our local programs are doing. So we would appreciate that. We can help you publicize it, especially if it's an invitational event. That would be great if you could let us know. As far as fall sectionals, Central Fall Sectional is September 22nd, held at Juniata College. Followed the next weekend up at Western Fall Sectional at Slippery Rock University on September 29th. And then lastly, Eastern Fall Sectional at DeSales University on October 6th. Again, we talked a lot about Fall Fest tonight, but Fall Fest will be November 1st through the 3rd. And you can see the dates there. I'm not going to read them over, but registration information will come out September 6th. USA Games, I think Michelle mentioned that on the tracker. We look to get our allocation sometime in mid-August for the 2026 games. As far as athlete communication, we will share the list of qualified individuals, those that receive the first place finish in the sport that we have allocations in, with the RSDs and the team leaders for their review. Athletes will be emailed and asked to complete a pre-selection questionnaire to be entered in the selection process. Additionally, for USA Games, we will take some additional staff roles. So we'll be looking for SOPA staff, athletes and volunteers to potentially fill some of the roles for our PA management team. If there are any of those additional roles that come out, we'll be sure to share them with folks on the weekly update sometime in August. We will look to do the coach and medical applications in September, open them up September 1st and conclude them by October 1st for the coaches and the medical staff, and then we'll make the selections of the coaches sometime in mid-October. So this is a new portal. We thought it was important for the coaches, to give a presentation on the new portal to help you through the process. So hopefully, if you haven't been on the new portal yet, this will be some valuable information for you. I promise this will be the last video in the last section that we have. Almost there. It's still circling. All right, here we go.
So hopefully everyone on this call has claimed their profile and is in the new portal at this point in time. Erica, you can go to the next slide. This, as with all transitions like this, I think it takes some time, and it'll take some time to make sure that we've got everybody in here and kind of functioning, learning how to navigate through. So again, we will be focusing with a little bit with you all here tonight, and then with our coaches, just making sure that all of our volunteers, have a little bit of insight and hopefully feel a little bit more comfortable navigating through this new portal. As I've said, so step one is really getting people to claim their profiles. I think you all know by this point in time, Jackie and Chelsea have been talking about it for quite a while, but this will be our new database system. It really will be a new management system. There are a lot of bells and whistles. There are a lot of things. Everything that we just talked about in the tracker, we hope to be doing in the portal. Fingers crossed this time next year, maybe 18 months from now, but everything will start to be managed from a coach perspective, a team perspective, an athlete perspective within this portal. So it's good. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. I think a lot of this stuff will get much easier. It's being built out. This is a brand new system. It's been a collaboration between Special Olympics International, Microsoft, and then 6 different state programs. So clearly Pennsylvania being one of them, that has really been a leader in this whole entire process, which is great because we get to help build and design it, right? So we get to make sure that it's got some of the functionalities that we want and need, which is why we felt like it was really important to come in on the front end. So this is what the home screen looks like. If you can just go back real quick, if someone is landing here that is a returning volunteer, it's just really important that we're not creating new accounts. All of their data, if they were in visas previously, has been transferred over to the portal. So they should be claiming their profile and kind of going in through that direction. So go ahead, you can go to the next page. Again, hopefully most of you have went through this at this point in time. If you have not, all of the Claim Your Profile emails went out in April, May timeframe. They went out kind of in a scattered over a few different weeks. They came from a do not reply email address. So a lot of them are getting caught up in spam filters or trash email. So if you're looking for yours, if you've got coaches that are looking for theirs, you may just, if you give them this like portals at Special Olympics PA, typically you can go to a search within your email and hopefully that'll pop up. They will be resending all of these emails at some point, maybe later this month or into August. When they resend them, they will come from a Special Olympics. So it'll say Special Olympics, and then the portals at specialolympicspa.com. So hopefully better than the do not reply. I mean, that was one of the pieces of feedback that we got in that initial push out. If you need to claim your profile and you can't find that email, you can email this here. It's kind of our new just support email. So it's portalsupport@specialolympicspa.org. You can email that. They will get you the information that you need to go in and claim your profile. This document here, if you want to pull it up, Erica, you can. I'm not going to go through it page by page. It's probably 9 or 10 pages long, but one of our very awesome volunteers from Summer Games put this together to kind of help her volunteers that were coming to her venue step through the process. If it won't open, it's not a big deal. It's just a PDF and it walks you through step by step how to claim your profile. So you'll have the link to this as we send out the PDF and the recording. Again, super useful tool that you can share with your people as well, just with, you know, how to go in and step by step claim your profile. You can go to the next one. So just a little bit of navigating through the portal. So I think as you get in and kind of part of claiming your profile is updating your contact information. So just really important to make sure that we've got the most up-to-date email, the most up-to-date cell phone number. For those of you that were at Summer Games, right, we're kind of utilizing text blasts and things like that to communicate for what's happening at events. We're getting all those cell phone numbers through the information that's here in the database. So it's just important that this stuff is correct. So we're able to properly communicate with you or reach you as needed. And then some of the things you'll see as you kind of get to your home screen, this is really what I would call kind of your home screen, your volunteer zone within the portal. You'll see these different options. So review your checklist, sign up for an event, or do more with Special Olympics. So we'll get into kind of what's under each of those that is important for coaches to know. You can go to the next one, Erica. So on your checklist is everything that you will need based on the role that you have. So all of the information that all the certifications, all of the background stuff that you had in visas should have transferred over here. If you're in here, you're looking at it and something's not right, or maybe something's missing, again, just contact that portal support. We'll work with you. We'll try to get those things fixed. But everything that all the certifications you have, kind of all the trainings that you've taken should pop up here on your checklist. And you'll see things are either completed or if things are out of date. So like my concussion awareness training is out of date. That is now marked as incomplete, something that I need to go in and do. Things that are kind of upcoming to expire, it'll actually say in there, will expire in 60 days, will expire in 30 days. So if you're kind of coming in here on a regular basis, you should be able to see those things. You will also, similar to like we've done in visas, you will get some notifications at those key time points when things are due to expire, letting you know that you'll just need to go in and re-up them. But all the background clearances, so you'll see here, PA disclosure statement, all of you, I didn't copy everything, but background check, right? So all of your PA child abuse clearances, all that stuff is kind of managed in here. You'll see it as completed. All your training. So this is where you come to take general orientation, protective behaviors, concussion training. You just come here. Everything will link directly to those trainings through here. It'll automatically update that you've completed it once you have completed it. So it's really nice trying to just automate a lot of those processes. So you're not waiting on someone, you know, us on the back end to manually update some of those things for you. This is also where you will now see practicum hours and continuing education. So you see a practicum hours in here. Yours will look a little bit different. It'll have practicum hours kind of bocce, practicum hours soccer per sport. But and I've got another slide on that. I'll show you what that looks like. But just trying to make the process easier, right? Trying to kind of get all these things in one place, so it's easier for our volunteers to manage. Again, same with continuing education, which we'll get to here in a second. So you can go to the next one. That is what your checklist looks like. that Do More with Special Olympics button. So this is where you go to say, what do I want to be in Special Olympics Pennsylvania, right? So if you are not already a coach and you want to be a coach, so if you're not already a coach, if I'm someone new coming into the portal, the only thing I'm going to have on my checklist is the Class B volunteer. Once I would come in here and I would say, okay, and so under coach, the only role that's there is assistant coach. That may change in the future, but this really, you're a head coach, if you're assistant coach, it doesn't matter. So just so you guys know that, it kind of covers just anyone who's filling a coaching role. If I would go in and click that button, which maybe I have on the next screen, but and then I say, like, I want to apply for this assistant coach position. My checklist will then update with all the Class A certifications that I need to be a coach, right? So you're not going to see those things on your checklist until you say, I want to fill that role. So that's where you do that. You do that kind of in this Do More with Special Olympics. So you'll see the ones that I think we will really use. I've starred here. So it's the coach and then the team support. So the team support are just chaperones. So anyone who is helping, at a competition or at an overnight event. Local program support. So all of our team leaders, managers, our sport team leaders, that is kind of local program support. So if you're filling a role like that, and then unified partners. Under kind of general and event would be some of the roles that are specific to events. So, right, you can be kind of a group lead for a corporate group at coming to summer games, right? So there are some different roles that you'll see listed within there under athletes, and the health and fitness are mentorships and things like that. So different things in there, but I think the ones we would need to focus on from a competition perspective are that coach and the team support. Okay, I think that one's good. You can go to the next one. So signing up for an event. So super important. This is where we will now sign up for coach training schools. So this is also where you will sign up to be a day of volunteer at summer games or at a fall sectional, right? So as we're directing all of our Class B volunteers, they are also starting portal accounts. They are also coming in here. That is how they will sign up for an event. So, as you start to kind of direct some people in that direction, important for you to know that as well. But this is where we will do coach training school registration. So clearly we'll have a lot of those opening up here for the fall season. As you'll see just down below where the 2 yellow stars are. So if you click on sign up for an event, you will see right there, sports training school registration. It is super important. So you see kind of in my blue arrow pointing to this kind of peachy box here. So you have to complete the Class B liability on your My Checklist before you'll even be able to see anything. So everyone coming in needs to complete that Class B liability, I think it's called, maybe, but on your My Checklist. And again, you'll see it as something that's incomplete. So it'll for sure stand out. But that may be one of the reasons, if you have people saying, I don't see this for whatever reason, that may be one of the reasons they're not seeing it. So just cue them, go back, make sure they fill that out. And again, if you continue to have any struggles, you can just email that portal support. Just important to know all of our track 2. So any experienced coaches, and track 2 is really just for people coming in with a lot of experience in a particular sport. So you have coached that sport at high school, college level, officiated that sport. We like to see kind of an in-depth, not just, I played basketball when I grew up, but some in-depth participation in a specific sport in order to go track 2. But those will still be managed through that track 2 application link. We're not yet managing them through the portal. So that's the one thing just important to note that'll continue to happen outside of the portal. If you go to the next slide, it'll just show you what it looks like once you click on the sports training schools. So these are a list of the sports training schools that are currently up there. They're up there. People can get in. It looks like hopefully we've got maybe some people registering for some of those things. But so we've got LDR virtual trainings and Bocce virtual trainings up and ready to go for this fall season. Once you click on that, this is what it looks like. So it just gives you kind of the start date, the end date, a little bit of a description. For all these virtual ones, it really just says you'll be provided with a link a few days prior to the training. And you just click sign up, and then you can go to the next slide. Just super important too that everyone is actually registering for training schools. Once a training school happens, we'll get attendance. We'll go in, we just click that people were there, and then it will automatically populate those that they are pending in that sport within their checklist. It'll automatically populate their practicum hours. But if an individual has not signed up via the portal, none of that stuff will happen. And it's going to take a lot longer for us to get all that stuff active within their portal account. So please, 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 make sure people are just going in here and getting registered for the training schools. So you'll see here, once you register for something, so I registered for one of the LDR training schools. Once you're back on that home screen, kind of your volunteer zone, it'll pop up right there, anything that you've registered for. So that is the training that I registered for. If I was also registered to volunteer at an event, it would pop up there. So I think that's really nice that it just kind of is a good reminder of the things that you have signed up for. And then this was just, sorry, I guess I should have done that one first, but on the bottom there with the great, you signed up. So once you actually hit sign up for one of those things, it verifies that you've signed up. You can click kind of the add to your calendar. It gives you the option to add to a Google Calendar or an Outlook calendar. We know that the start dates in there are a little wonky. We're just going to change it to January 1 to December 31 to hopefully not throw anybody off. But since we've managed it the way that we have and just calling this like a sports training school registration, we can't give that a specific date. So like for summer games, it would say the specific job and the specific dates that their job is running. So understand that's a little wonky. We'll just make sure people understand. But, you know, it says right there, the LDR training I signed up for is on August 19th at 6:30. So, and when you add to your calendar, that is also what it will get added as. Okay, I think you can go to the next one. So practicum hours. So again, we have tried to significantly simplify this process for individuals. This will be the new way to submit practicum hours. You just go to your checklist. Again, after you have taken a training, you will see this appear on your checklist. Once you've completed those 10 hours, this talks to you about how those hours can be calculated. So up to 5 of those hours can be obtained prior to your training. 5 of the hours need to be obtained after you've taken the training. So if you took a training yesterday and you're going in and you're saying yes to your practicum hours form today, that's probably going to raise a red flag, right? Like you need to get 5 hours of your practicum training after you take your training. So just once you've completed those 10 hours, you come in here, you just kind of, you know, that we ask, you're reading through this form and then you just click that box that says I've read and agree with the practicum hours, and then you hit renew and your practicum hour submission is done. So again, have just tried to simplify this process for our coaches. And I think that's it for the portal. Again, there are definitely a lot of other things. We're just trying to scratch the surface here on, you know, what we feel like is important for coaches to know.
Hey, folks, that was the portal. And that is it for tonight's presentation. So does anyone have any specific questions? I'll take a peek in the chat. There was nothing in the chat. So coaches, thanks for sticking around. We thought it was important that you got the information on how to do the tracker and how to log on to your portal. So appreciate you sticking around, you know, went a little longer than 8 o'clock. So appreciate all of you for all that. Any questions?
Thank you.
Alice, Ron.
Thank you, everybody.
I think I'm good.
All right, you're good, Alice. You got Alice still in here.
She must be good.
Yeah, she looks good to us. All right, coaches, appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll share this on the coaches website, coaches Facebook page, as well as the sport offered page. So you'll find it there in the next couple of days. All right, everyone, have a great night. Appreciate all that you do. Thank you. Thanks,
All right,
Ron.
thank you.
Alex.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
Tom. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Bye.